this is as real as it gets.
This is Angel Leanne coming straight to you from the United Kingdom, and you are listening to the UCW radio show. In your face.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
You're listening to UCW Radio.
In your face.
Give it to me, baby.
All right, welcome to the UCW radio show, and we have another great guest lined up for the show. If you're an action film buff or fan, look, you know names like Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Willis, Norris, Seagal, Van Damme, the list goes on. And our next guest, I believe his name is going to be added onto that list. So without further ado, I want to bring on our guest, AJ Draven. AJ, welcome to the UCW radio show. How are you?
Great, man. Thanks for having me, Lou.
No, well, thanks for coming on. You know, we had a little mishap, but I guess, you know, we figured everything out finally to get you on.
Yeah, as long as you guys are good, I'm good to go. So
no, we're good to go. You know, why don't you tell us what you have going on? You know, because you have your background is a pretty eclectic. You know, you're heavily involved in the world of martial arts, but you're doing so many things in Hollywood that I don't really know where to start. So why don't you just kick us off so that our listeners can get more acquainted with you?
Sounds good, man. Yeah, I guess eclectic's a pretty good word for it. Interesting. I've never used that one myself, but I dig it. Yeah, I'm a martial artist. I specialize in Krav Maga, which is the Israeli street fighting thing. Very similar to like mixed martial arts, MMA, but mainly for the street. And it's taken me into some movies and films and some stunt work and stuff like that. I guess my most recent gig, which just came out last week, I worked on the video game Halo 4. Mm-hmm. Did all the motion capture and stunt work and martial arts fighting for the game, which was pretty sweet gig. I had one of the best times of my life on that job.
Yeah, I can imagine, because you're a part of history there, because I think they sell, like 1 trillion of those games?
Yeah, I think they made like 220 million in 24 hours. So
wow, that's crazy.
I'm trying to make some phone calls so I can get a piece of that, but we'll see. I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah, even if you got 0.5% of 0.5% of 0.5%, that'd still be a decent amount of money.
Hey, I'd take it, but the funny thing is, actors, we still haven't figured out. We still don't get residuals on video game work, which is kind of a touchy subject within the industry. But trying to figure out how to make this all work through the Screen Actors Guild and the unions. Granted, I love the job. We get compensated very well, and it's a great gig, and I would do it again and again. However, it's a big part of it. We'd love, if there was a way to figure out how to make residuals off these things, it'd be nice. I'll tell you that much. So.
Yeah, well, definitely it'd be nice, because these games, some of them make more than films actually make, which is interesting.
Yeah, people are out waiting lines. 220 million in 24 hours ain't bad, no matter what you're selling. So
yeah, it's like a cult type of thing, and yeah, it's not only kids; it's every age group that's playing games, which is wild, Yeah,
it's everybody. I had people from all facets of life, hearing about me working on it and just coming up to me and just saying, "Oh my God, you're on Halo! It's my favorite game." And I had no idea they were even gamers, but yeah, people all over are playing it. I gotta say, probably one of the most fun jobs I've ever had. I spent basically a lot of last summer just pretending I was, a badass fighter dude and fighting people and flying around and doing stunts and flying onto mats, and it was just a blast. So I'm very grateful. It was a fun gig.
Well, it allowed you to be a kid again with things all over your body.
Yeah, I felt like a 5-year-old with like a Velcro suit and white balls all over me. So.
Yeah, exactly. AJ, what I want to do, I want to crank back a little bit. as you mentioned, you're involved in martial arts. You're involved in Krav Maga. You know, how did you initially get involved in martial arts?
You know, I actually, growing up, I just fell in love with action movies. I was like an action movie addict. I remember one summer I was, you know, in probably junior high, and we had this little video game store near, not video game, video rental store near my house at the grocery store, and they had the action section. And I literally went from, like, they were listed in alphabetical order, and I went from A all the way down to Z, and rented every single movie in the section. Just like anytime there was like a fight scene or some guy overcoming and like saving the day or being a hero, I was like, that's my movie. I just loved it. I watched every single one. It was, I mean, we're talking stuff starring anybody, all the way, you know, from Arnold Schwarzenegger all the way down to like Billy Blanks making movies, and I watched them all. So,
well, that's.
So I loved it, and I just loved the fighting aspect, and
right.
I wanted to get involved. I started off, and then, you know, I really became a fan of guys like, you know, Bruce Lee and Van Damme, and, you know, I know, you know, Van Damme was somewhat of a kickboxer, and I started training in Muay Thai kickboxing. Just went to this little gym in Vegas and was learning how to do it. I actually grew up in the Midwest in Chicago and St. Louis, but moved out to Vegas when I was about 18 and started kickboxing there, and really just fell in love with it. And when I moved, I kept wanting to move west out to Los Angeles to pursue a career in entertainment. Hopefully involved with, you know, acting or fighting and martial arts, all mixed together. I was just for a new place to train. I moved about 3 blocks from the worldwide headquarters of Krav Maga, which just happened to be in Los Angeles. It was brought there from Israel, actually. They brought it to Los Angeles to spread throughout the world, and this LA became the home base. I just happened by the studio, and it just hit me at the core. It was so real and aggressive and kind of similar to Muay Thai as the way they punch and kick, and I just kind of fit right in. And I just, you know, kind of was right place, right time, and it became a huge part of my life. And, you know, ever since I still do it every day. I teach instructors. I do seminars throughout the world. You know, that's kind of my other gig when I'm not doing something in entertainment, making a film or doing some sort of work. I'm teaching Krav Maga, and I just love it.
And you know what's interesting, that, you know, it's not that you have to teach, is that you love the arts that much that you want to do it. You know,
I mean, it kind of hits me at my core. It's you know, Krav Maga. I work for the Krav Maga Worldwide organization, which is the biggest in the world as far as Krav Maga goes. We have 400 or 500 schools across the world. We train over 500 different law enforcement agencies. You know, anything from, you know, regular police officers all the way down to special ops, you know, Secret Service, even Navy SEALs. You know, these guys want to know how to get out of any situation, and we're training them, and it's great to be a part of that and be able to, you know, really help people that need it. And, you know, it'll be anyone from, like I said, some specialist in, you know, an anti-terrorist unit to a woman who's been, you know, victimized and needs something to help her move forward in life and you know, get confidence back, and, you know, and anyone can learn it, and it's so real and kind of awareness building and confidence building, and just helps you feel safe walking the streets. And that's really the whole goal of the system, is to go home safe. And I really do love it. I think I probably teach it for the rest of my life, and continue to do it and work with it.
And you also work with kids too, right?
I do. Somewhat. I helped start a program called KMX years ago, and working with kids. It's the Krav Maga Worldwide Kids Program, which I'm not actively involved with it as much anymore. I'm too busy with, you know, entertainment and working with the adults and other things like that. But we have an incredible group of instructors that are now taking part in it. I actually helped develop that system with the late Marnie Levine, who was one of my great mentors. She's the wife of Darren Levine, who brought Krav Maga to America in, I think, the 80s, and she's just a wonderful person who unfortunately passed away, lost the battle with cancer, I think maybe 7-8 years ago, something like that. But I worked with her very closely and to help develop the kids program. You know, you have to change things a little bit for the kids because, you know, we're teaching them fundamentals of how to protect themselves. But, you know, with the adults, it's like we're eye gouging and scratching and clawing your way out of any situation is basically as brutal and aggressive as you can possibly be. And with the kids, it's a little more teaching them discipline and understanding fundamentals. But we don't want them going out there on the playground and like kicking their friend in the nuts. And
No, you don't want that. They're playing basketball. All of a sudden, bing, bing, bing. They're poking out eyes. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, I had some good. I one time had a guy a kid who I was training who calls. He was a troubled kid, and he calls me up one day and was like, "Hey, man, I something went down. I got in a fight." And when I'm teaching people, generally I give them the Spider-Man speech, where it's like, with the Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, because we're teaching these people how to like really hurt somebody. Mm-hmm. And this kid's like 14 or 15, and he was getting picked on at school and just always had trouble. But like, I trained him for a couple of years, and by the end of it, he was just, he hit hard. Mm-hmm. Let's put it like, you didn't want to get hit by this kid as an adult or anybody. If he connected, you'd be, going out probably. And I'm like, oh God, here comes the situation that I've been, trying to avoid my whole life. And one of the things I teach him was like, hey, when they're no longer a threat, you back off. And, because your whole goal is to get out of the situation safe. And we don't, as aggressive as we teach people to keep punching, kicking, fighting at all costs, it's like, you got to know when to stop. And he was like, yeah, this guy kept coming at me, and I hit him in the face. And I was like, all right, here it comes. And I was like, what happened next? Because, normally I'm teaching, he's still fighting. You're like stomping his head on the ground. We're doing whatever we got to do. And he says, well, I hit him in the face, and his braces came out, and he's laying on the floor, bleeding, curled up in a ball, crying. And, so I figured he was no longer a threat, so I just went and got the teacher. I was like, thank you, God.
Oh my God! Yeah, you don't want further problems beyond that. But at least he did listen to you. That's a good thing. And
he listens to me, so he's a good kid. But yeah, man, I love that stuff, and I've tried to bring it into trying to segue it a little bit into entertainment. I have a film out right now that. It still airs. It's been airing for about a year now on Showtime and the Movie Channel. It's out on, but they air it at like midnight. It's an action movie with starring myself and Stephen Bauer. Mm-hmm. Remember Stephen Bauer from Scarface?
Yeah, Stephen Bauer.
He's been on like Breaking Bad recently. He's a great guy, and Finola Hughes, who was she's an Emmy award-winning soap actress, actually, and actress from a lot of things, like Staying Alive, but she was on General Hospital for, I think, 30 years or something. She had a cool role in it. But I tried to do a lot of, I acted in the film, and I had a ton of fights, and I filmed this in the Philippines I was over there for about 5 months, and I tried to do a mix of a lot of Krav Maga in it. Mm-hmm. Being attacked by, I get attacked by all different, terrorists, Abu Sayyaf terrorists from, deep in the Philippines, where, a lot of kidnappings and terrorist activity goes on. And so I'm having them attack me with like guns and knives and sticks in different scenarios. And it was pretty cool to put it on film, and get to do some of the choreography for that as well.
Well, let me ask you a question, because I have friends of mine that are, martial arts choreographers and whatnot for film. But over the past, I don't know, I'm going to say over the past, 10, maybe 15 years, the choreography that goes into these action films, they've changed. You look at even films, recent films like Batman. that choreography is a little more intense. Where if you look at Batman, when Michael Keaton was playing the role, okay, the fight scenes are much different. They're more real today than I would say that they were back then. Now, do you find that being the case when you're doing the choreography for some of these films and shows?
Well, I got to say, I love the trend. I mean, the more real, the better for me. You know, as much as I love, Batman, when you hit the guy and the, POW letters come up and you get the BAM thing going on. Mm-hmm. I like real stuff too, and I love it because that's what I do and that's what I take to heart. I mean, I just, I actually find it hard for me when I watch movies because I'm so entrenched, and I go to every action film I go to. I'm like picking apart these scenes. I'm like, oh, that would happen. Oh, that would never happen. Or, it's just so real for me. But I gotta say, like, I really do love the trend with, like, even like the way they've changed over James Bond, back from, and nothing against James Bond from the 90s. I love those movies, but I was just having a conversation with my buddy about this the other day, back when Pierce Brosnan was doing it, had that old, like, kitschy kind of feel, and he'd throw the one punch and, like, fix his suit and, have the stare at the camera. And now you got, like, Daniel Craig in there who just looks like such a badass, and just, like, those fights just seem so real and just gritty, and I just love it. I'm a huge fan of that kind of stuff. And when I see it, I get excited, and, it makes me want to do it in my future projects and go that way. So, yeah, I would say it is getting real. I mean, even on Halo 4, they were, when I got hired, they were like, look, we're doing this fight, and you're fighting a couple of these aliens or whoever they are, and we want it to look real. Like, we don't want the kung fu looking stuff. We want it to look like you are in a fight. You're a Spartan, and you're just. I want you to hit hard, and no funky spinning kicks. Like, you're going to take his knee out, and you're going to bash him across the face.
No, so that's pretty cool. So they wanted to see. I mean, they wanted to see you, like, really get into it with someone, so that people think that you're really battling in the video game.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was they definitely wanted the real deal versus the kind of old school kung fu type movie stuff. It was very rugged, hardcore. I felt like good for me, right up my alley, because I like punching hard, kicking hard, making it aggressive, and fits right in with my personality, and I think it's going to look pretty cool because of it. This whole trend is really kind of fits my liking. And I'm hoping it sticks around. I don't see why it wouldn't.
No, I don't think it's going to change because, I mean, you have, with USC and the way, mixed martial arts has taken the world by storm, people want to see that real stuff because you have more, I guess more laymen that aren't really involved in martial arts, that they'll know certain moves, and when they see it in a film, they're like, "Oh yeah, but he's not doing it right," and they start critiquing you, like, "Okay, well, what are you guys, like the judge? It's like a reality show or what?"
Yeah, right. Like all of a sudden, everyone's an expert because they've been watching on TV. But hey, I tell you what, the people want what they want, and if I don't think anyone wants to be faked out. They want to see good stuff. They want to see real stuff, and when they see something that's done, realistically but exceptionally well, people really dig it. So the Bourne movies, and like I said, even from Casino Royale, as soon as they brought Daniel Craig into doing all the
that was a great film. That was a great film.
Oh, from the moment it turned on, I was like, they just changed James Bond, and I'm a huge fan all of a sudden. From that initial race. When they're running through the town, I was like, this is great.
Yeah, I saw that. I said, my knee's hurting me. Can't do it.
Yeah, you can walk out of there with a knee injury, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Let me ask you this. When people, when they go into a dojo and they train, okay, even what you're doing with Krav Maga, it's different. and how hard is it for you to take what you know in the world of martial arts and, because fight choreography, when you do it, it's a lot different than real fighting, but you're making it so real. How hard is it to do that?
It's tough. I mean, look, a lot has to do with, there's a lot of factors that go into it. One, you need someone that can look like they know what they're doing, and generally that means you need at least a good stunt guy that can double your actors, or you have to have an actor that knows how to fight or can at least is athletic and can handle themselves. Two, and probably most importantly, you have to understand the camera and the camera angles and where the shots need to be taken from. Because if they're in the wrong places in the wrong position, I don't care how good you are or how good your kicks are or your punches, it's just not going to look good unless you catch the right angle with it. So that's always going to be of utmost importance. And then three, having like a team together that you can work with like stunt guys and other fighters, so it's not just one guy. I actually, kind of funny story, when I did special ops, for example, I was in the Philippines, and as the actor, a lot of the guys that I was fighting were not actually professional stunt guys. So a lot of them were just maybe martial artists or people that hadn't even done much film work before, and there's a big difference. So a lot of my job was I'm trying to act in the scene, and then I'm also working on the fight choreography because that was part of my job, and I'm working with guys that have never shot a scene before. And I think, it came off, and, if I would have had a full stunt team of everyone that knows what they're doing, I think it can look even better. You need people working together. You need the right angles. And then you need people that are proficient enough, to look good doing it. And any one of those things that, that goes wrong or is off, and you'll notice because, the camera's not going to hide. It's not going to lie to you.
Right.
You see what you see. So, and then I guess the last thing, and sorry, not and of any least importance, just as much as the editing. You got to find a good editor that can cut the scenes together right and put the right shots in the right order, because editing the scenes is just huge to make the scene run smoothly and run well.
And, well, I think that, and again, I'm not a fight choreographer, but I would think that having a director that sees what you see is key as well, because if you're on the same page, then they can actually, have the camera set in the right positions to get the right angles, to get the right shot.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to have a director. You got to have a director of photography, DP. Maybe there's a second unit director that's focusing on the action, or a stunt coordinator. It's like they all have to be working in conjunction with each other to make it work. Because if somebody's not, it's just not going to look good. And I would say more often than not, when I watch a movie, I'm disappointed with the fights.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why, I guess, you mentioned Bruce Lee in film. Okay, and when he did some of his scenes, he had, I guess, from what I gather, from speaking to people that trained with him, that he had a pet peeve that he needed the scene to look as real as possible. So he actually sometimes connected with people when he was doing his scenes. But that's the key thing, because you want it to be believable.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And then he's the pioneer. He was the best. And if he was doing it back then with a whole lot less tips and tricks than we have now, he knew what he was doing. So I probably, he's probably one of the main reasons I'm doing what I'm doing today. I love Bruce Lee. I love his philosophies. I think he was so far ahead of his time. Mm-hmm. I named my dog Bruce Lee. It's one word, but Bruce Lee with an L-E-Y.
I know. So somebody told me that before.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Hey.
someone that you live with, I think. So.
Yeah, I think you might have heard it from Miss Stephanie. She might have brought up the pit bulls.
Yeah, that was funny. She mentioned that, and I said, I wonder why, and it makes all the sense in the world. Now do you find with being the fight choreographer, what do you actually look for when you're putting together a fight scene? Because obviously the players that are involved are of key importance, but what else do you actually look for to make a good fight scene great?
Realism, I guess, and really trying to find. I guess when I started, when I choreographed other films and working on them, I wanted to just I kind of went about it as from move to move, and I would come up with what I thought would look cool or what. I would have a move stuck in my head where I really want this punch where he's flying off a hill and it's like a Superman punch that lands and it just knocks the guy out from here, and I want the upward angle, and it started with that, and then you kind of would build the scene around that move that you're thinking of, and or even with when I'm trying to implement something like Krav Maga into it, I'm like, okay, I really Krav Maga in its core is it's so realistic almost that it's how is that going to portray on film? Because it has to be as quick and dirty as possible. And sometimes on film you have to exaggerate a little bit. So for me, it was finding ways to add some movement to a particular realistic move that's going to make it interesting. Mm-hmm. And figuring out the best way to catch that. So, and it's not easy. It's tough. I've actually, as an actor, myself, I actually want, and I love working with other stunt coordinators and fight choreographers that I can I had the fortune on Halo 4 actually of working with a few different ones, and the last one, a guy named Tom Williams, who was just incredible. He's a great stunt coordinator, and he's worked on a ton of films. And he was putting together the fights, and actually just having a little bit of the choreography out of my hands was wonderful because I got to just focus on my fighting and my acting and working from there. Because it becomes you're really directing a scene. It's really difficult, and it's very it takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of time, obviously, to make it happen. So it's tough. There's nothing easy about it, I would say. Especially with, you're saying, we got these audiences that really, we got the couch professionals that know everything about fighting now, and, they do know more, and we're not going to pull anything over on them because they're watching fighting. So,
and that forces you to be better at what you do.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's a movie I love actually that was it's called Warrior. I don't know if you saw it, the mixed martial arts film.
I did see it, yeah.
Yeah, I really love that movie, and I love the fights in it too. And that's one of the first films that I thought really captured mixed martial arts well, which is one of the, obviously people are making mixed martial arts movies now, but I just loved what they did with the fights and the drama behind it.
Yeah, they did a lot of stuff with that. Now, AJ, we're going to take a quick break, so I want you to hold all your thoughts because we have more stuff to go into, and we're going to be right back. So, listeners, just hang tight. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with AJ Draven and get involved and get deeper into what he's doing. We'll be right back.
Hey, tell me now, what can I take? Anything to not feel this way for so long. It has stayed the same. What the hell does this all mean? 'Cause nothing's making any sense to me. I'm so out of my head, she said.
Authorities say singer Jon Bon Jovi's daughter is recovering after overdosing on heroin. It happened in a dorm at her upstate New York college. Police say an ambulance was sent to Hamilton College early Wednesday after a report that a female had apparently overdosed. Officials said that 19-year-old Stephanie Bon Jovi is hospitalized, but no other details were released about her condition. Police said Bon Jovi's teenage daughter and 21-year-old Ian Grant were charged with drug possession. Both were issued tickets and ordered to appear in court at a later date. Bon Jovi and his wife have 4 children. Stephanie is the oldest. The musician's representative isn't commenting on the situation.
Police in the Central American country of Belize are urging software company founder John McAfee to come in for questioning in the killing of his neighbor. McAfee created the antivirus software that bears his name, but now police in Belize are listing him as a person of interest in the killing of a man who lived just 2 houses away from him. McAfee, though, is resisting cooperating with police. He tells the AP he's afraid for his own safety and insists the Central American government wants him out of the way. He also says that whoever killed his neighbor may have been gunning for him instead. It's not clear now where McAfee is, and officials in Belize say they're going to ask the U.S. and others to help track him down.
Well, first of all, I'm not going to comment at this point on various nominations that I'll put forward to fill out my cabinet for the second term. Those are things that are still being discussed. But let me say specifically about Susan Rice. She has done exemplary work. She has represented the United States and our interests in the United Nations with skill and professionalism and toughness and grace. As I've said before, she made an appearance at the request of the White House in which she gave her best understanding of the intelligence that had been provided to her. If Senator McCain and Senator Graham and others want to go after somebody, they should go after me. And I'm happy to have that discussion with them. But for them to go after the UN ambassador, who had nothing to do with Benghazi, and was simply making a presentation based on intelligence that she had received, and to besmirch her reputation, is outrageous.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him going on to fascinate millions with his talent? 1 in 260,000. The odds of this born racer having 157 career top 10 finishes in NASCAR? 1 in 125 billion. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. I'm NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism.
Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Hey, you want to see something cool? Check this out. My name's Anitra, and I'm going to rock your world. Wow.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Wow. Oh my God. Along with my boys Mikey and Joey, I need the Shalava Brothers stack. We're knocking down walls and taking names. The brothers actually get something done. And everyone gets to play.
Progress is slow. We should be finished by Christmas.
Girls with power tools, rule.
We're not just bringing back the den, baby. We're making mega dens that'll blow you away.
Wow!
Anitra, it's unbelievable.
That is cool.
You want some of this? Facial recognition, motion activating. They're gonna wet their pants.
This may be the coolest room I have ever seen.
Because life is too short to live without a mega den.
I like their size.
I love their texture.
Their shape, feel.
They complete me.
Big, small, it doesn't matter.
Yes, I like boobies.
Love boobies.
Yes, I love boobies.
Yes, I love boobies. I love boobs.
Most of us know someone.
Who's been affected by breast cancer?
My friend.
My piano teacher.
My sister.
My aunt.
My teacher. My 2 aunts.
My Aunt Rachel.
I beat breast cancer.
We can beat this together.
Show the world how much you care.
And join us in the fight.
Because it's more than just boobs.
It's life.
DDP Yoga. It ain't your mama's yoga.
Over the last 12 years, I developed this amazing program I now call DDP Yoga, specifically to strengthen and heal my own body. It's the only reason I was able to wrestle in the ring well over 15 years and 3 world championships. And now, I want to bring this amazing workout to you, and it will change the way you think about the word yoga. DDP Yoga is all about zero impact, kick-ass cardio, increased flexibility, and core strength conditioning. It's like nothing you have ever seen or done before.
DDP Yoga. It ain't your mama's yoga.
All right, welcome back to the UCW radio show. We're here with AJ Draven. Welcome back, AJ.
Thanks, Lou.
All right, we left off. We're talking about the films and how with the choreography in films and how you have the couch experts kind of dictating the realism. That you as a fight choreographer or other fight choreographers have to kind of rise to the occasion.
Yeah, I mean it's making it tougher. So everybody's got to have their A game, and you gotta know what you're doing. I don't think it's tough to fake real fighting. It's like I think there's so many different types of martial arts in the world, and there's been different things throughout the years where it's like any different number of systems for any different number of countries, but and different things have worked over different times, but now it's like people are seeing how really you fight when they're watching the mixed martial arts and stuff like that. So it's and when people watch it, they feel like they start becoming knowledgeable in it, and they want to see what they think is going to work. And so you need to study it if you're going to do it, and really learn how to fight if you're going to be doing it in film. Well,
and you've actually trained actors in that, and you train them not only in martial arts but also in developing their choreographed scenes. It's a major TV shows like Raising Hope, The League, and what was it, Being Human? Alias? Yeah, I mean, I've worked with quite a few actors. A lot of times, actors living in LA, it's like, a lot of the people I know are actors, and they want to train and learn how to fight, and they'll get, or we'll get a gig consulting on a show where it's like they need to see, they're interested in having some of the people get, obviously there's fight scenes on a lot of the TV shows, or even just simple stuff like we need this actor to get in shape and know how to punch. So like, should we have something that'll look good? So yeah, that'll be a big part of it. It's on very different levels. Like, some actors will just want to come in and basically just get in shape and learn how to move, and they want a different type of workout, I guess, than just running on a treadmill or lifting weights. So they get something interesting where they actually learn how to defend themselves, and they get in an amazing shape doing it, because you're using muscles that your body's not used to using, and hitting pads and firming up, and other people have scenes that they have to choreograph, or hey, I gotta look good in this fight scene, and so we'll help them out with that as well. Well, you have a lot of martial artists in Hollywood, and the general public, they really don't realize that you have people that you would never think that are martial artists, and you also have, some people in Hollywood that martial arts actually saved their lives, and they kind of incorporate that in some of their films. One person that right off the bat that comes to mind is Robert Downey Jr. Okay, he's a Wing Chun man, and he incorporates that, in that Sherlock Holmes film that he brought Wing Chun to the table there, which was interesting. A good friend of mine, Phil Morris, he's also a Wing Chun man. So you have a lot of prominent names in Hollywood that are involved in martial arts, and I think it's fantastic that that we're seeing more and more of that, pop on into film. And
I agree. I mean, and I think it's cool, and my goal, one of my, I guess, selfish goals or personal goals is to make, to bring Krav Maga more into movies and into film. I think it's got this kind of, it's pretty popular throughout the world, but it's kind of like this cult following, where, if you know about it, you're like, ooh, that's that badass stuff that's, kind of military and aggressive, and it's not quite mainstream yet. And my goal would be, I'd love to, get it more mainstream, and hopefully I can get it involved by doing it myself as an actor in more films, and, doing it in more fight choreography and bringing it about as much as I can. But I definitely love the different styles, and I always have. It was like Seagal doing Aikido, and, Van Damme kickboxing, and Bruce Lee Jeet Kune Do. It's like, that stuff's just great. And, and obviously my thing is Krav Maga, which has a lot of similarities. Obviously, it is basically mixed martial arts, but, just, I guess, a little more straight to the point, and less of a sport, more of a survival art. But we punch the same, we kick the same. It's just, I'll grab a bottle and hit you over the head with it if that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
Versus, mano a mano, go in a cage and duke it out.
Well, in reality, and I don't care what art you're in, two things don't change. Punch is a punch, a kick is a kick, and you go from there. And in Krav, it's not. You're not doing forms. You're not doing that thing. It's more to the point of going in, ending it quick, and walking away. And again, I may be off point with that, but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No katas, no forms, nothing like that. No memorization. It's all assessing a threat, getting a situation, taking care of that threat, and going home safe. If you memorize and you practice movements that you're going to do, inevitably in a stressful situation, those things are going to change. So there's no way to predict what's going to happen. And if I have a form that I've memorized under stress, and when my adrenaline's pumping and someone's actually trying to kill me or kill someone I'm with or hurt us in some way, then that's all I have to fall back on. But if I've got the training, and I've trained in stressful situations, and I've worked with my heart rate up and my adrenaline pumping, and I've dealt with multiple attackers in different scenarios, and I felt what it's like to really be attacked before. Now maybe I can center myself and really use my awareness to assess the situation, figure out how I need to get out of it, and do so. And that's really all Krav Maga is about. And that's why I love it, because it's just real.
Oh, it's reality fighting at its best, and that's what it is. You're not dealing with, well, I have to do move 4 and and move my leg this way and so on and so forth to get something done. This is, as you said, assessing the situation and doing I guess coming up with the best scenario to get out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And let me ask you a question, AJ. Now, you being a true martial artist, in the world of MMA, it's like it bursted on the scene in such a way that you have people, and this has changed over the years, but it was a situation where people would, try to get into the cage or get into the ring and have 3 months of training and call themselves a martial artist, which, it's like you're not fully trained. You don't even understand the basics of stuff, but that's changing now in UFC, where you have a lot more respect to tradition going in there. Okay, now do you find, in your opinion, do you find that to be the case now, that you see more people actually becoming true martial artists, in MMA, or actually just in general?
I would say, I couldn't agree with you more that, when it started off, it was like, it almost felt like a tough guy competition, like who didn't care about getting hit, and, they're going to go prove their worth in the ring where, I've been training for 3 months and I'm the toughest guy in the world type deal. I think it has become a much more honed and skilled competition, and you're not getting in the UFC or you're not getting far in mixed martial arts unless you are extremely proficient in boxing and kickboxing and wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and it's like you got to know your stuff at this point. Now, granted, when I'm teaching someone self-defense, I'll take the guy or how to fight. I'd love to have a guy who's not afraid of impact, maybe someone who played football and has felt what it's like to be like go really hard, or maybe wrestled or had someone fight against them and hasn't backed away from that, was a real go-getter, versus maybe even someone who is a trained martial artist in one of the more formal arts that, has a lot of memorization and habits. I'll generally take the guy that's been in the trenches a little bit versus the guy that's been trained and has the habits as far as a fighter goes. But, if you really want to be a champion and you want to get far and fight competition, then, you better start training in all facets of fighting, because everyone else is, at least at this point.
No, they definitely are. And even in Krav, you have structure. And I think that's one of the key things, is having that structure, because if you're just out there and pounding brick walls and you want to go and, and just to have that type of deal, you're actually losing out on thousands of years of martial arts history and tradition that can actually not only enhance what you're doing in the cage or in the ring, but become part of your lifestyle. And this is part of your lifestyle, your martial arts.
I mean, for me, it is my life. I mean, I pretty much do it every day. So, I love it, everything about it. And one of my main jobs actually, when I am teaching, for that matter, is I teach a lot of teachers. Mm-hmm. So I'll certify instructors all over the world who want to open their own schools or are teachers at other people's schools, and a lot of those values are things that we have to teach them. It's like, look, you need to understand self-defense, but you also have to understand how to articulate it to people so they can go home safe and they can learn it. And it's one of my favorite things is, turning just a student who like maybe loves martial arts or loves Krav Maga or just likes the feeling of self-defense into someone who can then turn around and go share it with hundreds and thousands of other people across the world and maybe change all those lives too. I really love it. I think it's an important skill, and it's a good thing that people can do for their lives.
And that's why you like training people. Actually, that's why you love training people, because it's not just about, hey, this is what I do and this I have to train someone. You do it because you're actually, forget about money, forget about everything else. When you're involved in martial arts and you learn something, your way of paying it forward is by giving that knowledge to the next person.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing there, and I think that's fantastic. And I do like what you guys did with that youth program, that CAMX. And our kids need as much guidance as they can get, and if they can get some sort of structure, from Krav with a youth program and start from there, yeah, I think that's fantastic. And you're doing a great thing there. Now you have Special Ops that you said that's on Showtime. Okay, now who is in that film that you in the Special Ops? Who is in that with you again? You have Stephen Bauer, right?
Yeah, Stephen Bauer. He played like the bad guy.
Right.
Cool guy, man. Gotta give a shout out to Stephen Bauer. He was such a trooper. He was such a great guy to have around on set. I'll never forget. I love that guy. Stephen Bauer, and then Finola Hughes, the Emmy award-winning actress she was in Staying Alive, the lead girl, and General Hospital for years. A cool cast. We filmed a lot of it on location in the Philippines and Hong Kong. So I ended up having some pretty cool fight scenes with some world champion Eskrima Filipino stick fighters, which was fun, and a lot of Krav Maga was involved. I actually have another film that's just coming out this month, which is actually it's a little stray for me. I wasn't the martial arts guy. I got to play it was kind of like I was the goofball frat guy, almost comic relief. It's like a thriller horror type movie called Absolute Fear. Just coming out on Blu-ray and DVD, and I'm not sure what network it's going to be on yet, but my guess is something either Sci-Fi Channel or Showtime.
Mm-hmm.
I think something like that again.
But it was just released, right?
Yeah, just released last week on Blu-ray and DVD. You should be able to find it, online in stores, stuff like that. It's myself, my beautiful wife Stephanie Lemlin is the lead girl in the film. She's awesome, and Patrick Bergen is from Sleeping with the Enemy, is in the film, and a couple other of my best friends, Matthew Allen and Caleb Thorne, a couple good actors and great guys. So it was a blast making that film, and it's a cool little thriller, fun movie, and kind of spooky, and Stephanie does a kick-ass job as our lead girl, and she's pretty great in it.
Well, you're not afraid of putting yourself, I guess, taking yourself out of the martial arts element and throwing yourself into, something like this, like a thriller or a comedy or things like that. You're open to everything.
I like acting, and where I think the martial arts stuff and the Krav Maga stuff and the fighting stuff, that is me, and that's where I'm gonna probably the majority of my stuff will be there. I really love the comedy aspect of acting, and I like making movies and being a part of them. So when I had the opportunity to kind of jump on this role, which was just almost the exact opposite. In Special Ops, I'm playing this, Marine captain who's on the run from terrorists, and it's all serious, and I'm fighting and, just trying to figure out what to do next. And this one, I just crack every joke I can think of as it goes, and it was kind of fun. It was a nice departure for me.
No, it kind of, you can let your guard down a little bit and get a little ridiculous if you want to.
And it was definitely a blast. So for me, I think it kept me on my toes, keeps me on my toes, and I want to keep, pursuing both things. So you never know in this industry. It's a crazy industry. You never know what your next job is, because once you finish your film or your project or your video game or your TV show, you're always waiting for that next gig, and you got to keep your options open. So I'm happy to have been able to work in a few different capacities, and I'm excited about all of them.
And I'm glad that you said that. Waiting for that next gig, because I don't care who I have on the show. it can. I mean, no matter how established they are, they're. I guess one of the things that they cherish is that they're able to work. Yep. And that's, as an actor, that's, I mean, that's a blessing to be constantly busy because you're honing your skills, so yeah, and you've been busy yourself. You have another project that you're involved with, the Thirst Blood Wars.
That was that was my first film. It aired for a while on like Sci-Fi and the Killer Network. I played like a vampire hunter type guy. You can still get it out. It's I think they called it. It was called The Thirst in like overseas, and Blood Wars here, and then somewhere it's The Thirst Blood Wars. It's the movie with 1 million titles. But that was a cool little film. I worked with Tony Todd, the Candyman. Okay. He was the bad guy, and I got to fight him. And Jason Connery, Sean Connery's son, who was, really cool guy. He was another one of the bad guys in there. It was very, very cool movie with and fun kind of college vampire and martial arts film, and got to do a lot of fighting in that one, which was a blast.
But that's great that you can, as I just said, you can just work on different projects in different areas, and just be able to have, because I think that the more fun you're having doing a film, the better it's going to be, because you're actually more in tune to it. I mean, again, that's just my view on it.
Well, for me, it's like I have trouble even looking at it as work, because I love it. Mm-hmm. I love doing it, and and if I'm happy and I love what I'm doing, and I love my work, then I feel like I'm never actually having to work a day in my life. I'm just having a blast. So, and working on all these films and projects have been that way. Now, granted, it's all hard. It is hard work, and it's a lot of hours and a lot of commitment, a lot of practice and time. But I enjoy it, and looking back even on those, some of the best moments of my life that I'll never forget, and kind of pushes you to want to keep doing more. And like you said, yeah, every actor is looking for their next job, and being able to work is such a, we're all very grateful when we get to. So, because it's not like those jobs are happening every day all the time.
Mm-hmm. And for you, you work, you work in different areas in film. You do the fight choreography. You're actually in the action scenes. You do some of the behind the scenes stuff that actually gives you a better insight into how all the components work, which actually make a good fight scene potentially into a great fight scene if you're involved with it, because you can kind of assess the situation. As with Krav Maga, you can assess the situation pretty quickly and try to put everything into place to make it really look sharp.
Yeah, I mean, definitely increase my understanding of films. I'm not the type of person that likes to sit around and wait for things to happen. I like to try to make them happen, and so that means getting involved with the story of a film, or trying to create from the start, working with writers, trying to develop projects, just not sitting idle and letting it come to me. I want to go out and get it, and I think a lot of it has to do with my martial arts background, probably, but and a lot of it has to do with that idea of like, hey, I don't think anyone's going to work as hard for me as I'm going to work for myself, because everyone's got their own agenda. So I know if I can create on different levels, and if I can get a better understanding of how to make a film or a fight scene or act in a scene or whatever, then I'm going to do it. And it absolutely does. Like when I read scripts, or I watch films, it's almost impossible now not to at least try to break them down and get a sense. I think I sense a larger scope. I'm not just watching the movie. I kind of feel and see what goes into it,
Right.
which helps on a lot of levels.
Well, it's funny. It's like being a musician, where you're a musician, and let's say you play the guitar or you're singing, and you kind of critique someone when they are doing it. So with what you're doing, if you're watching a film, you start breaking it down while you're watching. You're like, well, you know what? They could have did this better, or they could have did that better, or they could have handled it this way, and you start analyzing the whole thing. Does that drive you crazy?
I tell you what, let's just say I'm glad I'm not a musician, because then at least I can listen to music. Although I do mean karaoke, man. I got 80s rock down like no other.
There you go.
However, yes, I will say it probably doesn't drive me as crazy as, if I'm at a movie with my wife and, we're trying to watch it and I'm sitting there like making noise like, oh, come on. He's probably the one that's going more crazy and won't let me live it down, because it's hard. It is tough for me to watch an action movie without being highly critical, and not even critical in a way of, I guess critical might be the wrong word, but just I really break it down, where it's like, whether I love it or I hate it, or I'm like, oh, that would never work, or that guy needs to train more, who is this stunt guy, or how do they get that camera angle? It does. I will say sometimes it takes you out of the film, or takes me out of the film. But if the film is so good, that I'm not noticing, then I know they did a good job, and I'll go back and watch it again and check out the fights. Like I would say Warrior, for example.
Mm-hmm.
A film we talked about earlier. I love the fights, but I probably had to go back a second and third time to actually really watch them, because I was so invested in the film that I wasn't really paying attention. I mean, I was paying attention, but not in a way of like trying to say, well, what was that movie just did? It was, I really was getting the scope of the whole project.
Well, they did a great job, because you had actual actors as leads that actually did a hell of a job in the cage, which was really interesting. Really interesting. And I didn't even know the guy that played the brother. I didn't know who he was until I started watching some other movies. I said, you know what? But he's a badass.
Tom Hardy?
Yeah, he's
I don't know him, but that's my man right there.
Yeah, he is a badass. Yeah, no doubt.
He's good, man. I'll watch him in any movie. I'm a fan. He was a total badass in that movie, and you can't, like I said, you can't just fake that. There's something there with that guy, and he put in. I don't know what his experience was leading up to it. I don't know if he was a fighter, but he became one, and I can imagine he can at least handle himself pretty well, because he looked good.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, you can be a great fighter, like Kung Lee. He did that new movie, that Quentin Tarantino movie. You have some fighters that can actually go in there and wind up in films and do well. But you have some great fighters. You know what? You put them in a fight scene, they're looking kind of bad. So right. It's not just an automatic thing. Hey, I'm a UFC champion. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to be a big action star. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. I've tried to. I couldn't agree more. I think that a lot of guys do get just thrown in the parts here and there, and you see when it's pretty easy to tell. And I agree. I love the fact that these guys were actors. And I hope, for me, I obviously consider myself a martial artist, but I also consider myself an actor, and I'm hoping to, use both of those together to help in my career, as opposed to coming at it from one angle or another. I don't want to just be thrown in a film because, I can fight. I want to be able to do both, so I try to work on my craft in both crafts, and then hopefully be able to combine them at the right time. Because I think you got to have both. I mean, people, nobody wants to buy someone that can't act. You know, they'll watch your fights. If they want to watch your fight and you're a UFC fighter, they'll just watch you they'll watch you go fight when you're fighting on pay-per-view or something. They don't need to see you flub some lines and, you know, just to do a made-up fight scene.
Yeah.
But when you got they can deliver some lines and vice versa. You know, when there's a guy that obviously can't handle himself, I don't want him to be the action star of a movie. When, you know, there's a lot better choices out there, like the Daniel Craigs or Tom Hardys, and you know these guys are badasses, and you can tell.
And they'll bring more to a scene than someone that actually is a real fighter. You know, only because they understand the dynamics of the fight choreography. Because as we talked about earlier, you can be a great fighter. However, if you don't understand the dynamics of the choreography, you can be the best fighter in the world. I don't care. Your fight scenes will look bad.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is. Now, AJ, what else are you working on now that you can actually talk about?
I got a few projects in development that I am doing. I can't talk much about it. I have a reality show that is in development. And it kind of goes along with what we were talking about before with, you know, Krav Maga and my training. We'll just, you know, leave it at that.
Okay.
But it's I'm excited about it. We did a little pilot and hoping to get, you know, trying to see if the networks have any interest and you know, go from there. You know, I'd love to do that. I have a fun little kind of goofy little web series that I do, which I'd love to turn into a TV show, kind of bringing together my comedy chops, and which I hope I have, and my action movies. It's called Johnny Badass, and I've done some like web spoofs, and it's almost like I'm spoofing myself, which I kind of like. But it's Johnny Badass basically does the worst action movies ever imaginable, but he's pretty badass when he does them. So, and make little fun web videos with it, and I wish I had more time to spend on it, but the goal for that is to, you know, get a little audience and hopefully get it out there, maybe do a film or a TV show around it.
Well, then you kind of throw that comedy in there too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I dig it. It's fun. You know, it's been good. I actually got a little bit of a following with it, and had a few videos that got out there. And you can if you can check out one of them. It's pretty funny on there. It's called, if you look up on YouTube, The Perfect Self-Defense. It pretty much combines acting and martial arts, I think, for the very first time in history. So, acting and self-defense.
That's funny. You know, yeah, because I know, you know, some martial artists, like a friend of mine, James Liu, he did a film, 18 Fingers of Death, and it was just a comedy about martial arts. And you know, I remember when he showed me, when he was making the film, he showed me the dailies, and I just couldn't stop laughing, because this is stuff that you want to see. Like, if you watch those old kung fu movies and you see the modern day movies, that type of thing, so he made it into a comedy thing, kind of like what you're doing, where you're kind of just letting it all hang out, and that doesn't minimize, you know, your skill. It just makes it even funnier.
Yeah, you know what? I figure if I can't have fun doing what I'm doing, why am I doing it? So it's like I have a blast doing that kind of stuff. It's fun, and I like staying creative. You know, you have ups and downs and lulls, and I'll have, you know, I was busy as hell all summer working on Halo, and you know, and maybe I'll have a month or two where I'm just teaching and waiting for my next gig, and so, but I love staying creative. So, you know, doing the little spoof videos or creating a project or just writing something and then going out and getting it shot and making some people laugh, it keeps me on my toes and keeps me happy. I really do love doing it. And who wouldn't want to, you know, make a movie called Demon Babies from Hell?
Yeah, right. And I think that you're gonna continue to do this for a long, long time, and entertaining the audiences for a long time, AJ. You've been doing some great stuff, and I know you're gonna have a lot of great stuff going on in the future. And we definitely need to follow up with what you're gonna have going on, in the months and years to come, because I think your future, your career is just gonna get brighter and brighter.
I really appreciate that, Lou. I'd love to stay in touch.
Definitely.
And appreciate the time. It'd be fun.
No, thank you, and thank you for being patient while we're going through, the transition here, because we were trying to get this done for a couple days, but we actually got it done, which is fantastic. Now, before we let you go, why don't you let our listeners know how they can follow your career, how they can learn more about you and your social media, your website, so whatever you have.
Perfect. Well, you can find me on Twitter. It's my Twitter handle is @JohnnyBadass. That's the name of that character, and it just kind of took over my life. So that's Johnny, JOHNNY, Badass. And my website is, I think you'll like this one, it's enterthedraven.com.
Nice.
And that's just like Enter the Dragon, but with my last name, Draven, Draven. Posting some career, updates and stuff on there. And then Facebook, sure, I'm on Facebook. You can find me, AJ Draven. Just got my name. And I actually do have, you can look at johnnybadass.com if you want to see all the spoof videos too. And I put links to those out from Twitter and all the other stuff. So it'd be great. Jump on board and come check out some updates.
All right, excellent. So our listeners out there, you want to find out more about AJ Draven, just you can follow him on Twitter, Johnny Badass, or @JohnnyBadass. Go to enterthedraven.com, check it out, find out more about him and what he's doing, because this is a guy you want to keep in tune with, because he is the new breed of fight choreographers, of martial arts actors that are, actually they're going to the next level in film, and you're gonna see more and more of that. We've seen it in the latest Batman movie. We've seen it in Spider-Man. We're continuing to see it in more. I guess more action films, of course, but other, films that are not action films that just may have action scenes. They're bringing a new element. They want a new breed, and AJ Draven is one of them. AJ, thank you for coming on the show, and we definitely need to follow up, down the road.
Great, Lou. Thanks a lot, man. Just let me know. I'll be back.
You got it. Thank you.
Initiating shutdown sequence.
You're listening to UCW Radio. In your face.
What is your major malfunction?
So let it be written. So let it be done.
Ladies and gentlemen, my mother thanks you, my father thanks you, my sister thanks you, and I thank you.